is Melissa, and we put together this kind of a slideshow. It's obviously not our paper, but we went back and looked at Chris Brown and Rihanna's relationship, both online and offline. Back in 2009, I'll just take you to the slide. Do you want to read the abstract first?
Yeah, we do. Okay, this is our abstract. It's a little lengthy, but okay. It's the analysis will focus on Chris Brown and Rihanna's social media use back in 2009 when the fight altercation between them first happened. We will present the situation, create a campaign using the information found in interviews, tweets, statements, etc. Chris and Rihanna actively use social media as a platform to get their voices heard during the time they were apart. Chris has deleted his account several times, making it difficult for us to consistently monitor his use. We're using this as an opportunity to build a crisis communication plan for his image. We would like to compare Chris and Rihanna's tough love story to other high-profile celebrity couples like John and Kate Dawson and create an image repair campaign for as individuals and as a couple.
And just a little introduction. Back in 2009, I mean, how many of y'all follow like Chris Brown and Rihanna like on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook? I know we had to for a long time. And back in 2009, it was like a night before the Grammys. They were seen in a really high-profile, I think it was Beverly Hills neighborhood. And at this time, Chris Brown was kind of in a love triangle. He was dating Rihanna at the time, but also had kind of a mistress, if you will. And so it was documented that Rihanna, she went through Brown's phone to view a 3-page text message that he had received from his other woman, if you will. And you can't really find the contents of the text message anywhere online, or there hasn't been any statements released exactly what it said. But the contents of that were, I guess, graphic enough for her to cause a scene in the car. And so in specifics, he lashed out when she read it to him. He stopped the car in a prominent LA neighborhood. She threw the keys out of the car, and Brown got outside. He retrieved the keys, and he came to the passenger side, and he hit her with his fist, 2 hits to the head, and there were also several bite marks to her arms and her fingers. Brown actually fled the scene, and Rihanna was left on the side of the road. And police reports say that they found her beaten badly and hysterical. I mean, we're all pretty much women in the room. I feel like we would all be pretty hysterical if that happened to us. Just a little background on Chris Brown. We did this research back in November of last year, and so we'll see a little contrast of what he did then and what he's doing now. In November 2012, he used his Twitter linked to his Instagram, and so we don't actually have very many screenshots of that time because he would delete all of his accounts whenever he went on kind of like a Twitter rant or got angry at someone, and so we don't have any of those to show y'all. And if you see, like, a lot of the headlines that were coming up they weren't positive. None of the news that was coming up about him. He stormed off sets. Many of us might remember that he got a tattoo on his face that it was speculated that looked just like Rihanna. And during that period of time, they weren't actually, I guess, official or in the limelight. They weren't seen as a couple. And this was his account back in 2012. And if you can see, you may not be able to from far away, but it says just posted a photo using Instagram. Many of those photos were either pictures of himself, just really looking gloomy, or smoking, whether it was like illegal substances or tobacco. And he also would post. He was also like recognized in different award shows, and so we found that a lot of the, I guess, fulfillment that he got as a person was, it says, "We need hope, right? Vote today so our future can prosper. I'm encouraging all my fans," which is a little funny considering he was involved in a domestic abuse altercation, and he's encouraging his fans to have this hope for a brighter future. So you can tell that he's really conflicted in the tweets that we were able to go through back in November. He also posted using like a Q device, like Hootsuite, where he would have posts that were more of marketing of his brand, and then he also had use, like personal use. And so many of you, if you follow a brand, you can tell, oh, they're trying to advertise a specific CD or something, and then he would post something like, something explicit, probably can't repeat it, but it would be something along the lines of, not joking, with my homies, like having some beers. So it would be a very like big difference in the content of his post, which as a, not necessarily as a fan, but as the audience, leaves you a little confused in what kind of message is Chris Brown trying to tell me after he hit Rihanna, kind of thing. And so his Twitter behavior, like I said before, he would go on these rants, and as soon as his rep would realize you just made a really big mistake by bashing someone online, he would delete all of his accounts. So back in, it was in November, he was, I'm laughing because it was pretty hysterical. He tweeted something about that he was with Rihanna, and a comedian. She used to be a news producer, so she's pretty well known, like kind of like in the media. Her name's Jenny Johnson, and he tweeted, "I look old as explicit. I'm only 23. ... And she responded, "I know, being a worthless piece of explicit can really age a person." And so initially she started this altercation between them online, but I didn't put the rest of what he had said. But basically, he suggested sexual things towards her in the most horrific ways that you could think of. And so right after that happened, maybe hours, like we were online whenever it was happening, and we were texting each other, did you see that? Like screenshotting things to each other. It was pretty funny, but at the same time, as someone who sees these people as, not necessarily, I don't see them as a role model, but like I'm in a high school ministry, and a lot of high school kids see Chris Brown and Rihanna as role models, and they want to dress like them, they want to act like them, they want to be that kind of cool hip-hop persona. And so it's a little scary to see that this is what's going on online, and kids are wanting to do the same thing, treat women the way he's been treating them. Yeah, and then that's just a photo of his tattoo.
So I kind of focused, she did Chris Brown, as you can see, and then I did Rihanna. So what we've kind of seen ever since, we don't have a picture of it, unfortunately, sorry, but there was a picture of when she first came out, like she first came from Barbados, and she was like this sweet, innocent, I think she was like 16 or so, and she just had this sweet, innocent look, and now you look at her and you probably wouldn't think it was, I mean, it's the same person, but then not, you know, because just like her image, so now she's just portraying like this bad girl image, she's really rough around the edges, like she just like doesn't care. I mean, so I, you know, had to follow her Twitter and Instagram, of course, and so some of the things that they're just both very derogatory and just very explicit, like they have no filter whatsoever, like, and that's an understatement. So, you can't really see, but, you know, she just uses a lot of curse words, so I just followed her all the time, and at this time she was releasing her new album, Unapologetic, so she's just posting that and just different pictures of her traveling and her brand, but just very explicit, like there was even some nude photos of her, and I don't know, I was just appalled, and I was just like, I just can't believe, you know, this person has started out and then has just kind of downfalled. And I mean, they're both just so crazy that they almost kind of deserve each other in a way, but it's just kind of sick because they're just two people that they don't, you know, when you have a significant other, you should compliment one another. They don't really compliment one another. They're just both destructive, you know. So that's what I have to say about that. Okay, so I just said here is our initial research has shown that Rihanna has forgiven Brown and can be stereotyped as a manipulative girlfriend. In a recent interview with Oprah, she said that she felt the incident that happened between them in 2009 was Brown's cry for help. So I watched this interview with her and Oprah, and it was just absolutely absurd, and no one can ever relate to that situation until they're in it themselves, you know, so we can only speak, you know, as an outside view, but she was just like, she felt bad for him, and she felt because he saw his mom abused when he was a little boy, so she felt like, oh, he's been through this, and, you know, it's not his fault. So she was just like he was like just like a little puppy, and she was just like there, you know, kind of rescuing him, and it's just really sad to me, you know. Okay, so this is the picture that I was talking about. So you can see here to the left, this is her when she first came out, and this is her now. So, I mean, she's probably not like that all the time, I hope not, but that's kind of what she's turned into. So, so when I was doing the research, she does actively use her Twitter and Instagram, and then her Facebook was more geared towards just like her fans and just publicizing her album that was coming out. So yeah, just like I said, and her name literally on Instagram is Bad Girl Riri. So that can give you an indication as to kind of what she's doing. And then this is just kind of an update now. This is kind of a more glamorous shot, so I decided to use this one, but I still follow her on Instagram, but she still, for the most part, is posting still, you know, inappropriate pictures and just very explicit, like I said before, so they pretty much remain the same, unfortunately.
And as far as Chris Brown goes, at the end of the slide we have some suggestions if we were to personally talk to their publicity reps, how we would address the situation post the incident. And actually, Chris Brown, if you look at his activity, I guess, last year and to now, there's a significant gap where he stopped posting and deleted his Twitter. I want to say in January he picked it back up, and it's actually pretty funny because he doesn't link the Instagram and the Twitter anymore, so it kind of looks like parental control, like someone came in and said, you shouldn't be doing that anymore. He hasn't been cursing as much as he normally does. Prior to this year, a lot of his posts, like I said, were really vulgar, a lot of like illegal substance abuse going on, and now it's a lot more publicity. It's a lot more marketing his brand of Chris Brown, and he's got like a clothing brand called Mechanical Dummy. And so, like it says, did you see Chris Brown lead a flash mob this morning on the Today Show? A lot of the tweets aren't his tweets anymore. It's someone taking over and kind of rebranding him and titling him a CB and not actually him saying things as himself. And he's also been on different, like Rihanna, she's been on interviews, but he's actually been more active in I guess, reshaping what people think about him. He was actually just recently, I want to say not even a week ago, on the Ryan Seacrest show, and it was like a 35-minute interview, and he just went on about how him and Rihanna are in a long-distance relationship, and he talked about how he is not a controlling boyfriend, which is interesting considering kind of their history. And so he's been making pretty active like way of trying to rebuild his image. And we would say, okay, whatever you did, you can't really redeem yourself. But as an outsider and as a future PR professional, he's done a really actually great job of rebranding himself online and in person as well. If you look at there's actually an interview that it's been deleted off of his like Mechanical Dummy website. He was smoking in the interview, and he talked about how he talked about the love triangle that he was in, and that he was in love with two women, and how he talked about how he was 23, but he felt so much older because of what he's gone through. And we don't have access to that interview anymore, but in comparison to that phase of Chris Brown and to this new kind of cleaner version of him, he's significantly come a long way. And as far as his Facebook goes, there has been a notable difference in the frequency of posts. He has, not actually him personally, but someone has been posting for him. So here it says, he has a new album coming out in like a week or so. It says, for this album, you get a chance to take a journey with me and listen to every dynamic of who I am. It's more of me proving to my fans.